Um, the portraiture is important because Penn made it very clear that he conceived of this plan as one that would provide large lots for housing property and would also include 5 designated squares that would be set aside as public spaces. And in the pamphlet that accompanied this, that was the commentary that was written by Thomas Home, he explains that the 5 squares were to be like the Moorfields in London. And the Moorfields was a public park in London. It was unusual at the time because the parks that we think of in London, like Hyde Park and St. James's Park and Kensington, are all actually owned by the Crown. If you go to London today, you're not supposed to take photographs in the royal parks. There are signs all over the place, although no one pays any attention to them. But those are privately owned by the Crown. The Moorfields was unusual because it was owned by the City of London. It was administered by the aldermen of the City of London, and it was just outside of the old part of the city. So when Holmes said that the squares in Philadelphia were going to be like the Moorfields, he was telling people that these were spaces that were going to be owned by the community, not by one person, not by William Penn, the proprietor, for example. Now, Penn also made it clear that the center square was going to be dedicated to public buildings, government buildings, meeting houses, and the like. And the 4 outer squares would be green squares. They would be laid out as parks. And again, this is often misunderstood. People tend to think that these were simply open commons, open fields where you could, play a game of baseball or something. They were not. They were intended, and again, when he talks about the Moorfields, this was a designed park. It had the idea was that these green squares would be improved with walkways, with tree plantings. They would be managed areas. And Penn's idea was that these were public spaces where the citizens of Philadelphia could walk out on a summer day, but where they would also be, as it were, kind of demonstrating their good behavior in public.